Right, guys, I'm going to get started. This is going to be recorded, so for those that might be joining late, obviously they can catch up. So today I want to say, obviously, first of all, good morning. Thank you for those that are attending. I'm joined by Pragmatic, James, and our webinar today is focused on master selling Microsoft Dynamics 365. So to get started, a bit of an introduction and agenda. For those that don't know me, my name's Amy Phantom. I work at Ingram Micro. I'm the Partner Development Manager working in the BizApps team. I'm joined by James today. So James, I'll hand over to you before I run through the agenda.
Yeah, thank you, Amy. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. So I'm the sales director here at Pragmatic. Have been so for over a year now or something like that. My role, as you can imagine, I'm very much day-to-day working with our clients and also our prospects that we're working with in the opportunity stages, but also more prevalent today's conversation. I spend a lot of my time working with our partners to understand their organizations and how we can align ours to theirs and work with them in a collaborative, kind of mutually beneficial capacity. So I'll be taking you through a lot of that today on this call, but very happy to have so many of you on.
Perfect. So to get started, I'm going to run through the Microsoft Dynamics opportunity and what that looks like. Then James will dive into a little bit about Pragmatic, the technology around D365 and Power Platform. He's going to give some client examples, key customer objectives, the value of partnering with Pragmatic, and then we're going to finish up with some Q&As at the end. Perfect. So I wanted to kick things off really with that BizApps addressable market. So everyone likes kind of looking first things first at statistics. And as you can see here, there's some pretty big statistics on the screen. D365 actually outgrows the market in every category twice the amount that what it does its competitors. That Power Platform run rate is growing at 72% year on year. And D365 revenue actually grew by 31% year on year. Next slide, please. So the BizApps transacting value, so diving a little bit deeper into the facts and figures, 25% reduction in customer churn. So that effectively means that once they're moving onto this platform, they genuinely stick with it. So it's very good to kind of get involved with. The average revenue increase on M365 users is actually 80%. And typically 40% of IT spend goes in that CRM and ERP space. So it's definitely something to be looking out for. You can see that sorry, just on one screen.
Yep.
Can you see that? Yeah, thank you. The transacting value is twice the amount of that Azure spend, and the return on investment, so $17 return on investment for every $1 spend is on D365, so there's a lot to effectively go at. The Azure penetration via D365 versus M365 is 10 times that value as well. Next slide, please. So effectively moving on from the statistics, how can you get involved? So partner to partner is something that we do heavily focus on here at Ingram. And by getting involved with the partner to partner program, you can earn licensing, earn a percentage of the professional services, earn a percentage of managed services, earn incentives, and it is that quickest route to earning. So effectively with that, you might spot an opportunity and identify an opportunity, but you might not know what to do with that. So with the partner-to-partner scheme, we effectively direct you down the right route alongside our partners, in this instance Pragmatic, on what you can do to basically receive that revenue. Next slide, please. So a few extra benefits on why partner to partner. So as I briefly mentioned on that previous slide, it increases the licensing revenue. So some D365 licenses have profit margins of up to 24% and pay a healthy rebate of up to 9.75% as their global accelerated Microsoft products. So with that in mind, you effectively don't want to miss out on what you're potentially leaving on the table, because if you don't end up actioning that, somebody else will. So your client-based protection, by you getting involved, this leads on to obviously what I've previously just said. If an MSP partner isn't talking to the client about D365 or the Power Platform, another company is going to start having that conversation and you'll have risk of losing out on other services. It'll increase your Azure revenue. So D365 and Power Platform solutions have been shown to double a client's Azure revenue. Clients who transact D365 licenses through partners are less likely to migrate their estate away. So again, it's reiterating that stickiness and the fact that they will stick to what they know. Everybody talks about Microsoft Dynamics, so now's the time to get involved. It's the next big thing. It's a different conversation to Microsoft 365. It's much more business-led than tech-led, and in many circumstances, sales teams aren't prepared for some of these conversations. And overall, it's better together. So partner to be part of the team and get involved. Our MSPs can't be all things to all people. Sometimes working with a partner can be a stronger proposition and a relationship that can grow and flourish. Next slide, please. And finally, diving a little deeper into engaging with P2P. So Ingram, we would help engage, we would run through your account analysis and that go-to-market planning. So we will help you identify those opportunities and get you started. We'll then help you develop. So we can give you that introduction to BizApps training. We have courses that we can invite you to. We'll help with that opportunity scoping, and the pre-sales support and demos can be provided. To help you grow further, obviously kind of entering that P2P piece, we have our elite service providers. And today, as I'm joined with James from Pragmatiq, he can talk a bit further with this and how he can help. But they will essentially be there to do that heavy lifting, to help with that implementation service provided, and you'll be able to transact those licenses. So you'll retain those licenses, which you can then order yourself through Xvantage or what was Cloud Marketplace. Now I'm going to hand over to James, and he's going to take you through Pragmatiq and more about them. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Amy. That's a really good introduction. I think it really sets the scene in terms of not only the market opportunity, but the other value of kind of offering these to customers around making them stickier and also churning less. I mean, I think in the world of MSPs in particular, it's a very competitive space. So anything you can do to try and keep your customer with you and avoid them going to someone else who might offer services you don't is only a good thing. As I said from the outset, I'll take you through a bit about us, and then we'll get into the kind of meat of the actual technology itself, and then we'll bring to life how it actually works in real life. So I'm a big advocate of using real life examples rather than just talking about technology, because I think that resonates a lot easier with many organizations and many people. So as an organization, Pragmatiq, we are about 6 or 7 years old now. We're a privately run organization based out of Milton Keynes, and at the moment we have just shy of 30 people, all contracted by us and all onshore resource. And I want to labour that point from the outset as well, because there's lots of Microsoft partners out there, not just with Dynamics, but in other areas of Microsoft that are using off-the-shelf providers, whereas we've made a strategic decision to not use offshore providers just to maintain our quality and also to make sure we've got the robust governance we need around the projects we're delivering. So it's very much a strategic decision to make sure that we're in control of what we're delivering. We were co-founded by Jamie and Stuart. They're our technical director and also our managing director respectively. So they're very much at the helm of what we do day in, day out, which is brilliant, and very much oversee all the projects we deliver. We are specialists in Dynamics 365 CE, so customer engagement, and just for the avoidance of any doubt, that's very much the front office part of the platform. There is the financial area or elements of Dynamics, so such as finance and supply chain management, and also the Business Central offering, which is geared up for smaller enterprises. But the finance packages, if you will, are very separate to what we do in the world of customer engagement. We do work with partners because there's natural synergies there, but we're very much focused on the front office side, and I'll touch on that in this session. And we have the designation of Microsoft Business Applications, which is important because many of you on this call will have designations in many different areas of Microsoft. You'll know how hard it is to get those, the accreditations you have to gain, and also the licensing you have to procure as part of that. So we've got that accreditation. Again, there's lots of partners out there that do Dynamics and Power Platform, but they don't in fact have that designation. So that's something important to call out. We are award winning, and I'll touch on that slightly in a slide in a moment as well. Not only in terms of industry awards, but also awards that recognise how we run our business and look after our employees, which is super important to us. And we offer the full end-to-end stack. So lots of our conversations with customers start at the point where a customer is exploring what Dynamics 365 the Power Platform is. So we very much start in that kind of evangelism pre-sales capacity, and then we'll take that client right through the use case and business case assessment to actually sign off a project, designing it, delivering it, deploying it, and then supporting it. And we do that full end-to-end piece under one roof here at Pragmatiq. And we do it across a broad range of clients in terms of sectors and sizes. And I've got some great examples of that later. And the resource in which we bring to the table as well, and this is if you were to partner with us as Pragmatic, you would have access to these resources, is really broad. So we have resources across, technical and functional design. We also have solution architects, we have project managers, as well as a very comprehensive and very skilled managed service desk. So these pool of resources are at our disposal, and we assemble the correct team at the right time to deliver the projects that we are working on, many of which are coming through our partners. So with regards to awards, many of you on this call will be familiar with some of these, maybe the CRN awards in particular, because I know that's quite prevalent across the MSP community. But like I said earlier, not only is it technology type awards that we are being nominated for and winning, but there are other ones that are recognition, I suppose, of the way we work and the way we conduct ourselves and our projects and with our employees. One of which I'm very proud of, which earlier this year went to the SME MK in Buckinghamshire Awards, where we're awarded gold for service excellence. So that just shows you how not only are we kind of in the market of winning new business, but we make sure we deliver it to a really high standard, and we very much focus on doing so to enable a long-term relationship with the customer. If I look across the clients we have on our books from a managed service capacity, many of those have been with us for many years, some right from the start of our journey as an organisation. So we're very, very proud to win gold in that. And then we have got awards coming up in November with CRN, which is a very reputable awarding body, and where we're up for more awards as well there in our specialism. So very, very proud of these. We have a lot more. And yeah, we continue to push forward on these fronts. So what's it like working with Pragmatic? I think this is important because, as I said from the outset, there's many organisations out there that are offering the services we do, but I want to give you a real flavour of how we work and how we conduct ourselves, almost bring a bit of personality to us as an organisation. So the first thing I'll say is that we're very consultative. So in all of our conversations with our customers and our prospects, and again, lots of these come through our partner network, we listen. We're a big advocate of understanding the strategic drivers of an organisation, the problems they're facing, and how we can align our technology and our skill sets to address those. We simply don't sit there nodding and taking notes based on what they said. We like to challenge customers to make sure they can be the best version of themselves. So that's kind of our consultative approach. We are passionate and we do care. A lot of the work we do as Pragmatic is delivered in the not-for-profit and charitable sectors, something we're extremely proud of because, of course, all of our projects deliver a return on investment, but there's nothing more rewarding than when you see the impact of a solution we've built for a charitable organisation in terms of the services they're providing to end users or the individuals that rely on their services. So we are very passionate about this, and we do. If you look on our social media publishings and that type of thing, you'll see us talking about this a lot because we do believe that it's all about doing good business with good outcomes, and we see that a lot in our sectors. And then simple language as well. Some of the feedback we get from our partners is around the fact they like that we just talk in normal terms, and hopefully you'll get an impression of that today. We don't expect our partners to be technically exemplary and understand the various tools we're talking about today. All we expect our partners to do with our support and our guidance and materials is know enough to have a conversation and be credible in front of a client, and then they would loop us in, and then we'll take it from there and push that opportunity forward with as much or as little involvement from the partner as they require. It's completely up to them. And our simple language approach as well, that goes across to our engagements with our clients, because again, many clients aren't technically enabled, if you will, or technically mature. And by result, therefore, we need to kind of break things down to simple language. They understand it and they see the real value in working with us and the technology. But we're very, very proud of that, and that comes through in our case studies as well. So let's touch a bit on the technology then in terms of where we operate. So as I said from the outset, we are covering Dynamics 365, the customer engagement element, which is the front office part, and we're also covering the Power Platform, which is a suite of products that we use on our projects to supplement the good work we do around automation, intelligence, reporting, that type of thing, and I'll speak about that in a moment. But Amy did a brilliant job of setting the scene in terms of the market opportunity when it comes to these technologies. But just to go a bit more detail around this, so Dynamics 365, accounts for 70% of Microsoft revenues. So of course that encapsulates both the front and the back office elements. But you can see there, an organisation the size of Microsoft, it's a massive figure. 70% of their revenues is huge from their licensing. So a result of that is therefore that Microsoft are really doubling down on investment in this area. You'll see lots of stuff around artificial intelligence and Copilot being drip fed throughout the suite, and they continue to spend billions in R&D to improve these platforms, which is brilliant for us. At the bottom left there, you can see that Dynamics is used by 97% of the Fortune 500 companies. So the big organisations of this world, which is brilliant because it can be expensive technology sometimes, and maybe people have a preconceived perception that maybe that it's only geared up to larger organisations, but it's not. It's very, very much scalable. Dynamics in the Power Platform is used by both the largest organizations in the world and the smallest. And on the right-hand side there, you'll see that 50% year-on-year growth for small to medium businesses. So those SMB segment is heavily using this technology as well. So the beauty about us and what we do as Pragmatic is that we talk to organizations of all shapes and sizes, and we can tailor these technologies, which are enterprise-grade technologies, but we can scale it right down as small as needed for a client and their individual requirements. So we're very, very lucky in that respect, and our case studies are reflective of the kind of broad range of clients we work with. And then I won't touch on this too much, but again, just to validate what Amy and I have touched on around credibility and promoting these technologies, they're backed by the world's leading think tanks and professional services outfits. So Gartner, Forrester, all these guys are always putting Microsoft right in the top corner in terms of innovation and being leaders and visionaries in their field. So there's very few customers that would are taking a risk, if you will, by moving to Microsoft. It's very much a safe technology choice. The more important choice, therefore, becomes who's the partner that they're working with to configure the software to deliver the outcomes they're after. And that's very much where we see ourselves working. And that's why many of our partners rely on us to do that. And then to give you an idea then of the kind of accounts we're working with and the sectors we're working around. So you've got the likes of Green King there, top left-hand corner, one of our larger customers. We'll all be familiar with Green King. I'm sure many of us have frequented their establishments. But for them, they've really outsourced all of their Power Platform requirements to us. So we're very much a strategic advisor and implementer for Green King. We work with them to uncover new use cases and basically drive forward innovation across their organization in a multitude of different areas. And then we've got charities like Mental Health Matters up on the top right-hand side, who are delivering really important services to end users, helping them to get in a better frame of mind. Super important work. And again, they rely on us and the Microsoft technologies to deliver those. And then we have likes of Logistics in the middle, which is an organization that provides legal assistance to the automotive trade. So very niche. So professional services specifically for the automotive trade. We've worked with them to deploy a Dynamics 365 system to manage all their case management, sales, and also integrate to their finance platform. So it's just a number of examples here. And George Davis Turf in the bottom right corner, I'll touch on that in more detail later because that's a real example of how an organization can have a really niche requirement, but through the collaborative working with Pragmatic, we've designed a system that can tailor for those requirements, not only now, but also moving forwards. So extremely flexible, versatility like no other platform. And yeah, we really enjoy working with such a broad range of clients. And then this diagram here I quite like because on the call, we'll have, organizations that are dealing in Azure, maybe modern work, and doing bits and pieces. But on this image here, you can just see that the areas in which we as Pragmatic operate occupy a small section of this wheel, and you will be working in other areas of this wheel. But our advice to MSPs and partners is that you want to be able to offer as much of this stuff as possible, either directly or indirectly, because if you're not doing so, then if one of your customers with whom you're working in modern work or Azure, for example, wants to talk to learn about Dynamics or do a project in Dynamics, you don't want them going somewhere else to potentially another organization that's got a fuller wheel here, because then suddenly they'll start taking dinner off your plate in other areas. So we work with partners in the context of, if you've got gaps as illustrated on the screen here, we can fill those gaps for you. It's still your customer. We still work as one in partnership with you, but it just means you're offering a more holistic suite of solutions and services to your clients, which is only a good thing for any customer. Let's touch on the technology then. So Dynamics 365, what is it? Dynamics 365 is a massive suite of modules, think of it like that are almost pre-configured to deliver certain things and cater for the requirements of certain functions. So as I mentioned earlier, there's a back office finance element of it. We're not touching on that today because that's not what we do, but we have partners that do that. But if you look at the front office part of the Dynamics, you're talking about those areas of the organization where, the things we're all used to in our day-to-day lives, sales, customer services, marketing. There are additional modules as well around project operations and also field services, which deliver very specific requirements if an organization needs those. But the idea here for Dynamics 365 is that if a customer has a sales requirement or a customer services requirement, Microsoft have gone to the length in their investment, built these modules because the use cases and the functionality is largely repeatable. Most organizations from a sales perspective want to understand pipeline leads, they want to manage their contacts and accounts. They want to track things like activities. all this stuff that's generic, it makes sense for Microsoft to build it as a module. And then we as a Microsoft partner will go in and configure that module to the exact requirements of a client. But Microsoft have given us a brilliant starter kit, if you will, to cater for some of the core business processes that an organization works around. And of course, the beauty of Dynamics is that if you have a customer that use multiple modules, such as customer service and sales and marketing, you can track everything holistically across the contact, whether they've been sold to, if they've raised complaints, if they've been hit with any marketing campaigns or anything else. It can all be centrally managed as one single version of the truth. So the organization can really manage that customer better from the entire life cycle. So this is kind of what Dynamics 365 is. So those pre-configured modules that deliver value. If we go a bit further than that, then, so what's the kind of challenges then? So what makes our ears prick up around there could be a project here or a conversation? This is the kind of thing we educate our partners on. So if we hear any conversations around things like it takes too long to respond to customer service inquiries, or our salespeople are working in disparate and different ways, or sales process disjointed, all of these things kind of get us excited because we know, going back to my last slide, that there's modules within Dynamics that can really cater for these requirements and alleviate these pain points. So we have a partner enablement handbook, which we give to our partners once they're onboarded, which has these kind of materials. So the sellers and the representatives of our partners can listen out for these things and be proactive in kind of engaging in a conversation. But these are the typical pain points we see that often allude to the fact that there's an area that we can improve within that organization. And if I just bring this to life quickly with an example then. So on that slide where I talked about the three key modules of Dynamics being marketing, sales, and customer service, another module that's not on that slide but is there again is project operations. And that enables, as the name implies, enables an organization to run projects from within Dynamics that involves multiple people delivering at certain timeframes and resources and that type of thing. So Brand Finance are a large organization that work with organizations all around the world. And essentially, they're a consultancy that helps to work with brands to understand the value of that brand and how they can improve the value of that brand. So very much a consultative professional services type outfit. Before we engaged with them, they didn't have any kind of coherent or consistent business process around how they're managing their projects, and also they didn't have much visibility across it. So managing multiple projects with different financial kind of constraints around those projects and timelines, it was difficult to manage it all in one place. And they also use a lot of spreadsheets, which involved a lot of manual entry, which of course leads to a lot of human error, which is something that all organizations should seek to avoid. So we worked with them to basically implement a Dynamics 365 solution, leveraging one of those pre-configured modules I spoke about earlier, which is project operations, and tailored it to their specific process. So it gives us 80% out of the box, and we use that 80-20 approach, then tweak it to the exact requirements of Brand Finance. And then now they have a streamlined project management process. It's all in one place. All their projects are managed centrally. And as a result of that, and the data residing in the back end of Dynamics in Microsoft, they can now report on it holistically as well. So that single version of the truth in terms of reporting, enabling them to have much better decision-making processes and reportability on those projects. So this is a very niche client in what they do. There's not many organizations that are out there doing on scale of Brand Finance. They had a requirement that Dynamics 365 could cater for, but we as a partner have gone in there and we've configured it to their exact needs. So it's a really nice kind of example of how a combination of a pre-configured module with a bit of consultancy from us has delivered a really good outcome. And then we move on to the Power Platform. So Power Platform, many of you will be more familiar with this, I think, because it's been, I suppose, more widely spoken about in the realms of Microsoft in recent years. But the Power Platform gives us a suite of applications and products that we can use either in a standalone capacity or to supplement the Dynamics 365 projects we're doing to drive more value. So if we just walk through these one by one. Power Apps comes in two flavors. So Power Apps has the idea of what we call a Canvas app, which is very much an application you can have on your mobile device, which lends itself well to those simple processes where it's largely data entry that leads to a kind of an outcome that can be predetermined, if you will. So examples of a Canvas Power App would be a health and safety app, for example, or it might be a visitor booking app, or it might be a site inspection app. So if it's something that requires data input in a coherent and consistent fashion that will then drive a result or a notification, brilliant. Canvas apps are great for that. Simple. We can build them to optimize mobile devices. They can be used out in the field. Happy days. That really works. The other more interesting and more lucrative part of the Power App stack is that of what we call model-driven Power Apps. And that's what we as Pragmatic do an awful lot of. And where we use these is that if a customer comes to us with a requirement that's really niche, it's a business process that's specific to them, it doesn't fit nicely into one of those pre-built modules around sales, marketing, project operation. It doesn't fit into one of those. So therefore, we as Pragmatic need to understand the requirements, and we will build a custom application using model-driven Power Apps to cater for that. And the beauty about this is that the result is a completely perfect, tailored, exactly what they want app, but it sits within the world of Dynamics 365, and therefore it leverages the same relational database in the back end. So we can build these apps, and we can have multiple apps as we have them with Green King, and they can all be singing from the same hymn sheet and the same data set, but individual users within the business can be using different apps to do different things. So over time, you build this central system which has the ability to have individual apps doing individual things. So users are most productive as they can be, but from an admin, from a data governance, from a reporting perspective, it's all in one place in terms of data. So super powerful. So model-driven Power Apps, something we do an awful lot of. I'd say that most of our work is model-driven Power Apps in the world of Dynamics. So the takeaway from what I'm saying here is don't leave this webinar today thinking that Dynamics 365 is simply sales, customer service, marketing, kind of CRM, if you will. Think of what I'm talking to you about today is if you have an organization that has a unique or problematic business process, whatever that business process is, start to think that's an opportunity there to talk about something like model-driven Power Apps or Dynamics. And then we would have that conversation with you to understand how we can move that forward. Power BI, really popular now, extremely well adopted, both in terms of partners, but also in terms of end users and citizen developers, as Microsoft would call them. That's that reporting suite that you can overlay on Microsoft solutions, but also the connectors now are really broad. So you can hook it into third-party data sets and static data sets such as Excel, and pull data into one place and interrogate it and analyze it in a visual way. So really, really powerful. And we more often than not, we do Power BI on all of our projects because it's just that really nice level of reporting over the top of the solution. Power Automate is the workflow engine that we use in the back end of our solutions, which will take data from one area to another, or trigger a notification, or force a kind of approval process, if you will. So just think of that as the workhorse, the work engine, the workflow mechanism that will do the heavy lifting in the back end of our systems. And then Copilot Studio is a really interesting one because this is something you might start to hear more around, given the prevalence of Copilot and how much Microsoft are investing. The Copilot Studio is essentially chatbot functionality. So enable you to have or offer solutions to your customers, which will be around automating maybe some common customer service type inquiries. So if you think about how we engage with organizations in our private life, normally you'd ring them up, you'd stay on hold for a long period of time, and then you'd finally speak to a human, or you'd have to scramble around a website trying to find the information you need. Whereas with Copilot Studio, what we can do, we can build an interactive chatbot that can reside on a website or a customer portal, for example, that will enable the individual, whoever that is, the individual stakeholder for that client in question, to engage with it and ask questions. And the chatbot will leverage data that's already pre-configured and prompt the end user on where they may go or where they may find that information, drastically reducing the reliance on humans and also really improving the experience of the end user because they're just getting the information quicker. And it's just much more conversational and easier rather than having to stay on the phone line for a prolonged period of time or scramble around and find it yourself. So really hot topic. We're going to see this grow a lot. So one to look out for in the future. And we can very much help you in this area. Similar to what I described earlier, things to listen out for around Power Platform then. So we struggle to report the data we have in our business. We're using lots of email and manual intervention. So that to me says, right, Power Automate is very much prevalent or a really good solution for that. Because it would remove that need to attach things to an email and send manually. We can automate all this stuff. We find it hard to make business decisions because the data's not up to date or real data. Again, Power BI can report all that data in real time, consolidate it and present it in a way that's usable. We have processes that require lots of manual input from different people and take a long time. That's when we start thinking about model-driven Power Apps. So how can we build that process out so that the people who need to input data at certain times do what they need then, and then aside from that, they can get back to their day job and be more productive. So some really good examples of what to listen out for here. And then George Davies Turf then is a real good example of kind of the model-driven power app approach that I spoke about earlier. In that, George Davis Turf are, they're a provider of gardening and landscape and aggregates and much more, both to consumers but also to businesses. So quite a large operation around our head office in Milton Keynes in Buckinghamshire. What we did for them was basically we did a full review of how they're working and the inefficiencies around it, specifically the planning and delivery side of the business, which was all very manual and using spreadsheets. And if you imagine booking in deliveries and liaising with clients and stuff, and if there's a change to a delivery, updating that, it was extremely painful. And they had no analysis or insight into how productive they were being and, or more importantly, how inefficient they were being. So we worked with them to essentially deploy Dynamics 365 solution, leveraging the model-driven Power App technology that I've spoken about, to completely streamline that process and enable them to be able to drag and drop their deliveries in the morning into the various slots and optimize the delivery network. And then also we integrate it to a third-party SMS messaging service so that the customer will get a notification to say your delivery is booked at this time on this date. Massively streamlining what they do. End users love it because they've gone away from spreadsheets and they're much more productive. Customers love it because the communication is so much better. And the senior people in this organization really enjoy it because they can now see top down how everything's going, the efficiencies and basically how the organization is operating, which is information they lacked before we got involved. So really good example, super niche kind of client, super niche requirement. We've used Dynamics and the model-driven Power Platform to deliver really exceptional results to them. So they're a great client of ours. The key customer objectives then, just going to go through a couple more slides here in terms of the challenges we address. And you'll see this across your customers as well. So if you're talking to a customer about modern work or Azure or the Microsoft technologies, it's really easy to open a conversation around the stuff we're talking about today. It's the first thing I'll say. But there's certain scenarios where we see that it's quite common for a conversation to be more well received, if you will, than not. And we'll just walk through these one by one. So the first thing is no CRM or custom solution in place, as is the case with George Davis Turf. So they were managing things on spreadsheets and using manual process and that type of thing. So we opened up their eyes to the world of automation, intelligence, and centralizing their data. They just weren't aware of it. So they had a problem. They came to us. We've addressed it with Microsoft technology, and they're in a much better position. So any organization you're working with that is manual, paper-based, think there's a conversation to be had there around Microsoft Dynamics and the Power Platform. We see a lot of customers who've got an existing CRM in place or a custom solution, but it's no longer fit for purpose. There's a lot of off-the-shelf platforms out there that do certain things, but they're very difficult to configure, whereas Dynamics is completely the opposite. It's completely configurable. And we have lots of customers out there that are using solutions that are built by a sole developer who's now left and moved on to something else. They've left with us with an application that is no longer future-proof. There's a single point of failure there. So these, again, are all really good signals to us. There's a conversation to be had about how we can get them out of that situation and onto a more future-proof, scalable platform in Dynamics and Power Platform. And also, commonly, like I said from the outset as well, is there's lots of Microsoft Dynamics partners out there, but not all of them are the standard we are. I mean, we very much pride ourselves on the longevity of our relationships with our customers, but we do, unfortunately, come across a lot of customers that have gone down a path with a partner and they've got stuck. So they've got Dynamics, but the end result isn't what they hoped due to bad design or poor delivery. And then we'll work with that partner or that customer, I should say, to basically audit that system and understand how we can get it back on track. So we have an audit approach, and we're very open to have a conversation with customers that already have Dynamics, but they just need a more proactive and more stable partner. And we do see this a lot. And then lastly, anything around reporting challenges, think Power BI. You can build Power BI solutions over and above existing solutions that will just make a real difference. If the system's bad and they can't move from the system in the short term, you can still explore doing reporting to improve their day-to-day operations. And then lastly, the value of partnering with us. And so what's in it? So I've taken you through who we are and how we work. I've taken you through the technology stack in which we operate, and I've taken you through the various objectives or scenarios in which we engage with the customer. So what is in it by leveraging the Ingram Micro partner network and working with the likes of Pragmatiq? So firstly is referral kickback. We do believe in any opportunities that are passed to us by a partner. You should be rewarded for doing so because you found the opportunity. I will emphasize again that you can be as little or as much involved in an opportunity as you want. We have some partners that just want to pass the lead. We run with it, we close it, and we tell them we've won it. Other ones like to be involved in everything. There's no right or wrong. We're completely open and transparent. It's whatever works best for you. So you will get a kickback of the year one professional services and managed services revenues as well. And just to give you an idea, a typical Dynamics 365 project can range anywhere between 50,000 in terms of the individual project, right up to say 300,000. So it's quite a broad range. But if you start applying that 10% in terms of kickback, you can see it can soon become quite attractive and lucrative in that respect for what has been just uncovering a lead. Also, as well, we find solutions for your customers. So if your customer has a need for Dynamics, just refer them to us. If you've got a skills gap, it does help build your reputation and increase your stickiness for that customer. Don't let that customer go and find another partner who potentially does other stuff that you do as well as Dynamics. Fill the skills gap by working with the likes of us, and then you're in a much better position moving forwards. Then it's less risky. You can also win more business later. We've had lots of instances with partners who they've engaged with a prospect. Their original need isn't aligned to their core skills, but there's a Dynamics opportunity. The partners recommended us in. We've closed the Dynamics piece of work, and then we've kept that customer warm. And then when they're ready for the Azure modern work things, we brought that partner back in. So rather than that partner losing that customer because they couldn't deliver Dynamics, all they've done is basically kept them warm over a period of time, and now we've looped them back in, and we're now having conversations collectively. So there's that angle to it as well. And then lastly, we can unlock opportunities with existing customers. So Dynamics as well, it integrates beautifully to the wider Microsoft 365 stack, and also the Azure storage components of it, SharePoint and other bits. It kind of reaches out and integrates into other areas. So by doing a Dynamics project with many of our partners, more often it'll end up being a source of other opportunities for that organization or that partner in question. And that extends to things like cyber as well. We've had a couple of instances where in dialogue with a customer, they've mentioned about a cyber requirement, which is not what we do, but then we'll pull the partner in who can do that. So it's a kind of, we do have lots of instances where there's reciprocal leads given both ways, which is great. And that concludes the session. So I appreciate I've been speaking for a lot on this call, but I did really want you to leave today with an excitement around the opportunity that exists with Dynamics 365 and Power Platform, but really an understanding of not all partners are the same. We do really pride ourselves in the work we do, and we're very lucky to have the extensive case studies and referenceability we have, which you can see on our website. And I do encourage you to go away from this call and think about this. And we'd love for you to reach out and have a conversation with us one-to-one to understand your specific organisation and how our partnership could look for you. But thank you again for your time. Really appreciate it. And I'll hand you over to Amy to wrap things up.
Thank you. So first of all, thanks, James. That was a great webinar, really, really insightful. And it was great to see during the webinar, obviously, those client examples, as I think probably a lot on the call can maybe relate to some of what you went through. But now, thank you all for joining. It's time for the Q&A. So if you've got any questions, please feel free to pop them in and we've got some time to answer them. Alternatively, if you kind of want to have conversations offline, that's absolutely fine.
Maybe we covered everything off.
I think so. Yeah, I think we've answered everything. Maybe we'll give it a minute or two and see if any start coming through. See anything on my side yet? So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I've just seen there's a poll on there as well. So our offer of a one-to-one consultation, please, let us know because we'll follow up with you in due course on that. So just fill out that poll that's in the chat thread at the moment. That'd be super useful.
Final call for any questions? You must have answered everything, James, and gone through everything.
Yeah, if anything comes up following this session, more than happy to say jump on a call or reach out to us or Amy and the team at Ingram. We can answer any questions that come up.
Perfect. So thanks again, everyone, for attending. Hope you enjoyed the webinar and found it insightful. As James just mentioned, anything that you want to kind of follow up with after the call, we can be in touch or obviously just get in touch with us. Thanks again.
Thanks, Amy.
Thanks, everyone.